motherfuckers? It's the Hater back again. We're going to talk about this week's episode of AEW, motherfucks. It was January 1st yesterday, so I didn't really get a chance to watch it until a little later because I was still kind of celebrating up in this, you know? But before we get started, as usual, we're going to do a little bit of shout-outs up in this. First up, DJ Personal. I think I gave you a shout-out last time, but I could be wrong. So, welcome, DJ Personal. You sound familiar, so I'm pretty sure I've given you a shout-out. Who else we got here? We got Smart Slayer, motherfuckers. Smart Slayer. You should link up with our other friend, Smart Killer, and you guys can form a tag team and maybe join the Dark Order up in this. You know what I mean? What else we got here? Classic Nerdy Nostalgia wants a shout-out. What up, Classic Nerdy Nostalgia? Shout-out to the 80s. Yeah, what else we got? What else we got? People thanking me for shout-outs. What else we got? I've got a few new subscribers, but a lot of them aren't showing up. So if you're one of them, ask for a shout-out in this video, motherfucks. And if you're not, subscribe today, motherfuckers. It helps out everyone. It takes 1 second to click the goddamn subscribe button and another second to click the bell icon. And if you don't do it, you're a fat smark. So do it. But someone who's not a fat smark is Clee Montrell. Clee Montrell, welcome, motherfucker. Clee Montrell and this bitch. Let's see if anyone else wants a goddamn shout out. What do we got here? Oh, new subscriber, Hired Guns with a Z. Hired Guns. You know, maybe we can hire you to kill the people that aren't subscribing. You know what I'm saying? What else we got here? This guy doesn't want a shout out, or he's not. Shankez or Shankez. I don't know. SHANKEHZ. He says, new sub. Love your videos, motherfucker. So he's a new sub, so he gets a shout-out, Shankez. Correct me if I'm saying your name wrong. And NASCAR fan, I don't know if he's a subscriber or not, but he's saying Meltzer is evil, so that deserves a shout-out right then and there. You know what I'm saying? What else we got? All right, that's it. Cool. All right, motherfuckers. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the sad, depressing state of AEW. All right? It's over. I think we can all definitively agree that this experiment is over, motherfuckers. It's over. All right, so let's get started with how it starts. It starts with one of the gayest packages I've ever seen in my life that asks the question, is the elite still elite? And, of course, everyone that's watching this is thinking to themselves, when did we all agree that the elite is the elite? You know, who agreed to this? Who agreed that a team of jobbers and cruiserweights are elite? In New Japan, where they made their name, quote unquote, right? These guys were way down the hierarchy when people like AJ Styles were in there, and even Carl Anderson, you know? So Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows were the tag team of Bullet Club, you know? They were the ones winning the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. It wasn't the Young Cucks, you know? So who established that the Young Cucks are elite? Number one. Number two. Kenny Omega, all right, he's the number one guy ranked in one of the 19 magazines that ranks the top wrestlers, right? Nobody agreed to this, but fine, all right, you can make an argument that he's quote-unquote elite. And then we have everyone's favorite, Cucky Rhodes, motherfuckers, Cucky Rhodes. This guy is not elite by any definition or any metric. This guy is average to below average in everything. You know, he's above average in a few things, all right, I'll be honest, you know, he doesn't botch that much. You know, I'll be real. Cody Rhodes does not botch that much. I mean, AEW is a complete botch fest, but we'll get to that later. But Cody Rhodes doesn't botch that much. And I hate to say it, I mean, if he doesn't bleach his hair, he's a handsome dude, you know? So he could have been a nice jobber in WWE. He could have written out the career just like his brother. You know what I mean? Just gone off the fact, or like Curtis Axel was doing. Just gone off the fact that you had a father that is superior to you, right? You inherited zero of his charisma. Right? But you're in better shape and you look better. So that's something that you can take to the bank, right? You can just ride that out, man. Just be Stardust for a little bit. And then maybe one day they give you like a Hurricane Helms into Gregory Helms makeover, and then you just go into 205 Live. Maybe you have a run with a belt there, and then you feud with Akira Tozawa until it's time to retire, motherfucker. You know? He could have just written it out. But, you know, to his credit, he tried to start a company. That company is now essentially on its last legs, if you ask me. But, yeah, I digress, you know? But this promo package was so gay because it just asked, they're like, are the elite still elite? The implications here are, one, we've all agreed that they're elite, which we haven't, right? We just established that we haven't agreed that these fucks are elite. Two, the second implication, the second premise of the argument is that anyone actually noticed that the Elite is faltering. Why would we think this, right? Kenny Omega, he started off by losing like 2 or 3 matches, or 2 matches, right? But then he's won like, for the last 2.5 months, he's just been winning. You know, he's beaten everyone that beat him, he's beaten. Except for Jericho, I guess. You know, but that doesn't even count. That was at the fucking, what's it called? The All In or whatever the fuck it was at, you know? So, like, before the show started. So, there should be really no questions that Kenny Omega is obviously one of their main guys, right? The Young Bucks, all they do is win. I mean, they lost to the tag champs, but it's only a matter of time. I don't like this. Like, one of the worst things about wrestling is this idea that if you lose, it's over somehow, right? Like John Cena, for example, when he loses, he always, like, nowadays, he's like, I have to rethink my career. Shut the fuck up, man. Just come back next week and wrestle again, you know? Why does everyone have to rethink their career after a loss? Like, in real sports, I could see that happening. You know, people are saying that about Tom Brady, you know what I mean? They're like, if he loses, he has to rethink it. I mean, wait a second, dude. Just because he's won like 6 Super Bowls doesn't mean he's going to win a 7th. And if he doesn't win a 7th, doesn't mean that he shouldn't play ever again, right? Is the standard that high that this guy always wins? So when he loses, it's like this like earth-shattering moment? Fine. You could make that argument for a Tom Brady. You can make that argument for even a John Cena, right? But you can't make that argument for a Cody Rhodes. That guy whose career has been like 95% losing. You know? Oh, is he still elite? No, we haven't established that he is elite. And 2, him losing, which he hasn't even done that much, is consistent with his overall career, which has been losing every fucking day to people like Damian Sandow and like Titus O'Neil. You know what I mean? That's like where his level is. So let's not get ahead of ourselves, fucks. You understand me? So we have that whole circle jerk going on, right? And to make it even worse, right? To make it even worse and possibly even gayer, right? These guys are, all 4 of them are the executive vice presidents. Like, can you put yourself over more? You give yourself an executive position. You make the entire company about you. I was completely wrong when I said that they're doing a good job not making it about them. But Jericho doesn't feel like a champion. He just doesn't, man. He's not there enough. He's not doing enough things. Like they're making him play second fiddle to the likes of Cody and Dean Ambrose. Jericho's championship run should be this. I'm Jericho. Like every week, I'm Jericho. I'm the best in the world. All of you guys are jobbers from the indies, right? I'm a star. I beat Austin and Stone Cold. He should obnoxiously tell people that he once had a legitimate career somewhere else, motherfucks. He main evented WrestleMania. None of these people, like no one else in this entire company, has any chance or had any chance of ever being in the closing match of WrestleMania. None of them. Not even close. Like, the closest one you could argue would be like Dean Ambrose, maybe, you know, because he did have like one of the worst title runs ever, but he had a title run, right? But there's no way that let this asshole close WrestleMania. 0 chance. Pac, that guy's lucky to even be like in the opening match of WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes, well, we've seen him at the WrestleMania that I went to in Jersey. You know what I'm saying? He was supposed to be on the card, but then CM Punk and Undertaker decided to like do one too many rest holds, and they're like, hey, guess what, Cody? You're cut from the card, motherfucker. We don't need you at all. Go home, you know? He's not even good enough to be on the show at all. You know? It's kind of like that one time when after like a WrestleMania where like Kurt Angle like beat Shawn Michaels, and then the next SmackDown, like a lot of the SmackDown guys, they did like a kind of like a reset of SmackDown. They're like, all right, who's going to be the new number 1 contender, right? So like all these people came out and they're like, I want to be the number 1 contender. I want to be the number 1 contender, right? And Kurt Angle's like, all of you except for Rey Mysterio have like lost at WrestleMania. And Rey Mysterio, you're short. You know, that's what he told him, right? And then Booker T's like laughing and he's like, Booker, you weren't even on WrestleMania. You were like on the pre-show, you know? So that argument was solid. Kurt Angle was like, yo, I'm the only one here that actually accomplished something last night at the biggest show of the year, and accomplished something great, beating Shawn Michaels in one of the best matches ever. Everyone else was a jobber, you know, and they weren't jobbers, but that's how stacked like the SmackDown roster was, where people like Booker T were in the pre-show. Now they have so many wrestlers that you can always find like a Tony Nese or an Adrian Neville or a Pac or whatever to just stick in the pre-show and make it seem as if it's important. It's not important. No one ever give a shit about that, right? So you have all the, like, Jericho should be the number 1 guy who beats people like Dean Ambrose, no problem. You know what I mean? Jericho shouldn't be like, you know, trying to get Dean Ambrose to join him. He should be beating Dean Ambrose clean, just like he beat Kenny Omega clean. That should be the story of the match here. You know what I mean? Like the story of AEW, if you're going to put the belt on Jericho. But the problem is, the company and the show isn't about Jericho and the belt. He feels like the mid-card champion. The show is about the elite. It's in the fucking name, All Elite Wrestling, right? So let's recap, right? You have these three cocksuckers, or these four cocksuckers, right? They're out there making the show about themselves by winning all the time. They've given themselves executive positions, right? Even, like, pause, motherfuckers, pause, all right? There's, that right there merits some explanation, right? You could be an executive and not be one on TV, right? Like, on TV, Cody Rhodes doesn't play the role of an executive. Kenny Omega doesn't play the role of an executive, motherfucks. You know what I'm saying? On TV, like kayfabe-wise, he's just a wrestler. But despite that, because these people are so insecure and have such inferiority complexes, because they understand, they get it. Deep inside, they know. They know that if they were to work for Vince, Vince would be like, haha, you're all jobbers. Go to NXT, shut the fuck up. Be lucky you're even there. You know what I mean? So they understand this, and their inferiority complex comes out. So not only are they actual executives, apparently, but even though their characters in kayfabe are not executive characters, they still get that title. They still have to put themselves over. So that's like a two-pronged fuckery right there, if you ask me, motherfucks. So there's that, right? Then they make the entire company about themselves. And if that wasn't fucking enough, they make this entire episode, the first episode, after being off for 1 week, the first episode of the year, they make it about themselves. They set the tone for the rest of the year with a stupid little package of them being like, oh, are the elite still elite? And then they're all sitting in like the rafters, like, or in the audience, right? And they're kind of like, there's this like air of them being like dejected, being like, oh, are we not? And they all put their arms around each other's necks in support. It was so cringy and it was so gay. And we've been talking about this right now for 12 minutes. And this 12 minutes that I spent talking to you motherfucks has been just about the first like 35 seconds of this show. That's how bad this was off the bat, right? That's how much I hate the elite. These people are horrible. Like, if they were to go to WWE, they would be the Undisputed Era. Except here's the difference. The Undisputed Era were actually better than the elite. Now I'll explain why in 1 second, and that's this, motherfucks. Before people were excited about the Young Bucks, they were excited about the team of Red Dragon, which was Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. But then WWE picked them up. So, of course, the smart beards are like, oh, we don't like him anymore. Now it's Young Bucks. Same thing. Kenny Omega leaves New Japan. Who's the best wrestler now? Oh, Will Ospreay. He's the one. Get the fuck out of here, you know? None of them are the best wrestler. Will Ospreay sucks. I mean, he's one of the ones that I like more in New Japan. But compared to other wrestlers, he sucks. Like, comparing Will Ospreay to, I don't know, Seth Rollins, it's not even close, man. And Seth Rollins sucks ass too. You know what I mean? So we have all this like circle jerkery going on, right? And before that, like Adam Cole was the #1 guy. But until Adam Cole left, right? Or until Adam Cole joined the Bullet Club, where he had to take an inferior position, right? There was a shift when like the best wrestlers in the world were in ROH, and then people stopped giving a shit about that, and they switched it to New Japan to be cool, even though it's not cool at all, right? So, I mean, I will agree, New Japan is more entertaining than ROH, but you understand what I'm saying, right? So they switched their allegiances, right? But for a while, Adam Cole was like the guy. He's like the most decorated ROH champion, you know? He was the guy that people were like, oh man, Vince needs to sign this guy. And they did, right? Roderick Strong was another one from ROH that was like that, right? It was like the two of them and Jay Lethal, basically, right? And Jay Lethal didn't want to get signed, apparently, right? Because of course they would sign it if they had the chance. So these guys went there, and even in WWE, they're in NXT, and they've been there for a while now. You know, don't let it fool you, man. Like, oh, NXT is a third brand. No, it's not. It's the fucking C show, all right? And they are the #1 guys on the C show. The good ones will be moved up. People have lapped them, motherfuckers. There are people out there like Ricochet. He was in NXT for like 3 months, and boom, they're like, all right, you're good enough. Go to Raw. And he's not good enough, of course, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Like Aleister Black. There's so many people that were like, all right, like we're just going to put you here for a while, and then we're going to put you on the main roster. Adam Cole and friends are being left there to fester and to kind of like get over, right? And then they're going to do exactly what they do with every other team and put them on SmackDown or probably on Raw, right? And they'll do well for a while, and then eventually they will break up, and like I think all of them will become jobbers. Adam Cole might have he might have like a Shinsuke Nakamura level career. That's the, in my opinion, the height of Adam Cole, unless he puts on some weight. Adam Cole was one of the guys that I called, like, as one of the, I have my 3 call-outs. Like, I called John Cena was going to be big before he was big. Velveteen Dream is one of them. And Adam Cole, motherfuckers. But I'm switching my mind on Adam Cole little by little because of just, I assumed that when I saw him when he was like 23 at some indie show, that he'd get bigger, you know? But he didn't. He looks like a high schooler. But anyways, let's move on to the first match, motherfuckers, after this mini rant of 15 minutes that I just did. First match was Cody Rhodes versus Darby Allin. Now, all right, I will say it like it is. Darby Allin, I like the kid. You know, he's not bad. He actually reminds me of a young Jeff Hardy. But here's the problem. I have 2 major problems. One of them is a deal breaker. Like, it made me dislike Darby Allin permanently. But up until this point, I like Darby Allin. The first problem, the lesser of the 2, is that they had this ridiculous little package before the match of Darby Allin skateboarding, right? And as he's skateboarding, there's this like homeless person, I guess, like this beggar who's like, he has like his legs crossed and he's walking on his fists, right? Almost as if he has like no legs. It was very weird. And he's wearing this mask. And Darby Allin's riding a skateboard, and he's wearing like a half mask, and it's like a Cody Rhodes face. And then Darby Allin burns this. Then Darby Allin's music starts, and this asshole, the homeless guy, comes out, right? And then like Taz, who was on commentary today, is like, that's like Jimmy like Smith from, you know, like some irrelevant band with probably like 2,000 listeners on Spotify, right? And then this guy was wearing a Cody Rhodes mask. And so the issues I have with this is, 1, who the fuck cares about this guy from the band? Why is he there? 2, why do we need a package? Like, why is Darby Allin like upset at Cody? Why does he symbolically burn Cody's mask? Why? Like, they were partners 2 weeks ago. They had a match and they tied, right? There's people that have beaten Darby Allin, like Jon Moxley. Why isn't he pissed off at them or whatever, right? So that was a complete waste of production money, in my opinion. It made no sense. It was just stupid. I honestly think, like, the more I think about it, I think this episode was the worst episode of AEW, and I'll explain why in a tiny bit, motherfuckers. Then, Cody Rhodes comes out with his, like, elaborate entrance. It could be me, but I think before the entrance, they added this, like, kind of chanting. This could have been there the whole time, or maybe I just noticed it now. But it's like, oh, oh, like, it goes on for, like, 25 seconds, and then it's like, wrestling only has one royal, whatever, that bullshit thing that he says, right? And then the cheesy-ass theme song, like, used to think I had it all, and now I no longer do it all to get them to blow me, or whatever it was, right? It was just like, so he comes out, elaborate entrance and all, and he has a match with Darby Allin, right? Cody Rhodes does his things, Darby Allin does his things, Darby Allin predictably loses, pushing forward the narrative that the Elite, thus far, until we get to the main event, is still elite motherfucks. Now, I need to take a moment to explain my real issue with Darby Allin. Like, this thing broke me nearly. I am somewhat of a grammarian, right? I consider myself to be a very intelligent human being, motherfuckers. So I like my grammar correct. Now, I understand. You know, of course we make typos. No worries. Yeah? Like, people that don't know, like, Y-O-U-R versus Y-O-U, apostrophe R-E, whatever, man. I can even forgive that. I can't forgive, like, should have and should of. I mean, come on, guys. Figure it out. It's a different word completely. But I can forgive a comma here and there. I can forgive a misspelling. No problem, right? No problem. Except for in the context of Darby Allin and his stupid-ass chest tattoo. Now, you may have not noticed this. You know? You may have not realized that he has this tattoo, and it is completely stupid. As a tattoo, I dig it in a certain way. You know what I mean? Like, it fits his character because it says something like, it's not over, like, till you're dead, or something like that, right? So I'm like, all right, that kind of fits his, like, I don't give a fuck, like, attitude, right? But I noticed today that the word till is spelled T-I-L-L. Now, a lot of people don't know this. So, I mean, it's understandable that a tattoo artist might make this mistake, or that Darby Allin, who's like 19 and like a high school dropout or whatever the fuck his gimmick is, like, doesn't understand this either. But the word till, like till I die, right, is spelled apostrophe T-I-L, motherfuckers, not 2 L's. You can ignore the apostrophe. I'm cool with that. But to add the second L makes you look like a retard. It is retarded. It's like that movie, We're the Millers, with Jason Sudeikis or whatever, and Jennifer Aniston, where, like, they meet that idiot boy right, with the long hair, who has a tattoo on his chest that it says "No regrets," but it's spelled wrong, right? It's exactly that, except in real life, because till is a contraction of the word until, and if you're not retarded, you know that until is spelled UNTIL, motherfuckers, not UNTILL. And I believe that Darby Allin's tattoo, I should probably double check this before I make an ass out of myself, right? I believe that his tattoo is spelled with two L's. Two L's instead of one, motherfuckers. You can't tell because it's smudged. Now, it's possible that it's not a tattoo because it's always smudged. But over here, I can clearly see that it says on a picture, till, with TILL. So, is it smudged? I don't know. Is it like a... I hope it's not a tattoo for this idiot's sake. Because if it is, that's just embarrassing. Even if it isn't, it's still stupid, right? So, for this reason alone, I now despise Darby Allin because he reminds me of the No Regrets guy from fucking, what's it called? We're the Millers or whatever, right? The match in and of itself was all right. The story of the match here was that Arn Anderson is now Cody Rhodes' coach. So, the executive vice president, right, and the guy that we're supposed to believe is like the number one guy, has a coach. And that coach is Arn Anderson, motherfuckers. And Arn Anderson looked fat. Now, of course, nothing wrong with that. He's always been a little chunky, and he's an old man. I'm not here to shit on Arn Anderson. But there's no reason for this whatsoever. And when Justin Roberts introduced Cody Rhodes, it was like a 30-minute introduction. He was like, now coming to the ring, being accompanied by, and then he introduced Arn Anderson like 30 years. He's like, one of the original founding members of the Four Horsemen, the legendary Enforcer, Arn Anderson. And then he had to then introduce Cody Rhodes. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no, Four Horsemen were all right, but Four Horsemen are cool as far as I know. I'm not going to sit around here and be like, oh, I used to love them in the 80s. I didn't watch wrestling back then. But as far as I know, the only one that made it out and became a star was Ric Flair, right? That I know pretty certainly. So with that in mind, to be part of the Four Horsemen is retarded. It's not a badge of honor. It's like having Virgil come out there and be like, one of the members of the NWO. Yeah, he was like the 60th most important guy out of like 62. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean anything, right? It's not like they're trying to get this mystique that like WWE, when Ric Flair quasi-retired, I mean, he was active all the time. But when he went from, when WWE bought WCW and Ric Flair came back as like a general manager, he clearly was shifting into a managerial mentor role, right? And that worked because this is like one of the best, probably like arguably the best wrestler of all time, right? So him mentoring someone that's already great like Triple H, and then afterwards being a mentor to Randy Orton and Batista, two Hall of Famers, or one Hall of Famer and one soon-to-be Hall of Famer, right? This made sense. You have like arguably the best wrestler ever mentoring arguably the future of the business, right? It's just like a stable of Hall of Famers. That was their entire thing, right? They were going to be Hall of Famers. On the other hand, you have Arn Anderson, right? Like the jobber, basically, and Tully Blanchard even worse. You had these two losers who are now like, I'm supposed to like believe that Arn Anderson, who never made it himself, is going to guide Cody to a successful singles career. Ric Flair guiding you to being a world champion makes sense because Ric Flair is a multiple-time world champion. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you know this, cucks, but Ric Flair is tied with John Cena for the record of 16 world titles. So kayfabe-wise, especially then, there was no one better to listen to about being a champion than Ric Flair. But there are a lot of people better to listen to than Arn Anderson about being a singles wrestler. So it fails completely, right? Also, it's another method of Cody Rhodes putting himself over. I don't like it. I fucking hate Cody Rhodes. I now hate Darby Allin, no regrets, right? So they can all blow me, but not really because I wouldn't want that, you know what I'm saying? But fuck it. So anyways, after that, we have SCU backstage just being idiots, right? Like these are like three bald dudes, not by choice. They're bald dudes because they're losing their hair. So they'll never be cool in my book, right? Because they're not bald dudes that embrace it, right? They're bald dudes that are like, yeah, look how hip and young we are. Daniels is like 45, dog. Yeah, or probably older. So they're in the back just cutting like a generic promo about how like they're the best tag team. Like Frankie Kazarian, for as long as he's been around, this guy should have picked up some mic skills, man. Straight up. Because he says things that make no sense. He was like, we have Private Party coming after us. The Young Bucks coming after us. And he's like, and now even Dark Order. What do you mean even Dark Order? Wait, they don't count? Like they're a tag team, right? Of course they want to be tag team champions. Even Dark Order. As if like Dark Order was these two main eventers that became a tag team yesterday. No, what do you mean even Dark Order? Why are they different than Private Party? It's fucking stupid, man. It's these little things that you have to think about, man. This is why when you have a Dusty Rhodes backstage, right? When you have like someone that is like, all right, if you say this, people are gonna think you're retarded. Or if you say this, 90% of people are gonna think you're okay, but there's gonna be someone like the hater who's gonna see it and think that's retarded, and we want you to be liked by everyone. They have done a very poor job of getting me to like SCU. Sammy Guevara comes out and says, Daniels, you're old, basically. Daniels says, oh yeah, boy, or oh yes, son, I'll see you next week. And why? Why not do this segment next week if SCU is not going to wrestle, right? And Daniels is not going to wrestle. Do the segment next week and have him do an impromptu match. So I get the payoff immediately because we all know no one's going to like be waiting a week thinking to themselves, man, I can't wait till next Wednesday to see the dream match of Daniels and Sammy Guevara. You know, it's just fucking stupid, man. But anyways, whatever. The segment was stupid. What's his face? Sammy Guevara goes out to the ring, and he's going to have a match with Goldust. Goldust wrestles like $1 million. I'll be honest, right? This guy is being put over to levels that he probably never thought he would reach. He's out there beating Sammy Guevara, who is a jobber, don't get me wrong. But he's one of your future guys. He's beating his ass. He does a Canadian Destroyer on the apron, man. He does a Canadian Destroyer. That should be like, you know when Kevin Owens does the powerbomb on the apron? And like the announcers have to get somber and sad and be like, oh my God, I wonder if Sami Zayn will be the same ever again. That's what should happen when you do a Canadian Destroyer on the apron. The match shouldn't continue and then Sammy Guevara kicks out of it. Or whatever the fuck happened, right? And after all of these ridiculous moves of people kicking out of Canadian Destroyers on aprons, the match ends with the referee being distracted. Jack Swagger comes in and does like essentially a knee to Goldust's stomach, which they pretend was a low blow. That's it. Sandy pins him. 1, 2, 3, it's over. One clever thing I liked is after the match, right? They went into commercial break, and it was one of those commercial breaks where it's like you know, the big screen, the big part of the TV is the actual commercial, and the audio is the actual commercial, and there's a small screen showing like what's happening on AEW. And Sammy Guevara had like a bunch of cards, like giant cards, that had like notes written on them, right? So he was able to not cut a promo, but he was able to communicate something, right? And that was like just talking shit about Goldust, right? I think this was prior to the match, actually, right? But it did a good job. They used that time wisely. Like, whoever thought of that is a smart man and should be kept around, you know? But the match was complete bullshit, right? Then we had a Rio match, right? I haven't seen Rio in like a month, but Rio is back, motherfuckers. And she had a match. It was her, let me see if I can remember, Britt Baker, I think, Nyla Rose, motherfuckers, and someone else who I don't remember who gives a fuck, right? Oh, Hikaru Shida, who I think was the best looking one of all of them, you know what I'm saying? So, because it's a Rio match, and Rio is in, I guess, a program with Statlander. I don't think she is. I think this is going to just serve for her to be put in a program with Brandy, or Awesome Kong, perhaps, right? But because she's in, I think that's what's going to segue to it. Because Statlander is in a program with Brandy, so like I think that's where they're going. But so knowing this, you know that she's not going to lose her title in a random throwaway match on AEW, right? Dynamite. So, of course, because it's a real match, you know it's going to end with her rolling someone up. And that's exactly what happened, motherfuckers. Rio sucks. Rio is the worst. There's this guy that I know, he loves Rio. He's like, Rio is such a great wrestler. I don't want to see Lucha Brothers, who are two of the actually two good ones that AEW has. I don't want to see Lucha Brothers. I want to see Rio. Oh, Rio, she looks like she's 8, man. Fucking loser. Rio sucks. I hope they fire her after she drops the title. Anyways, next up we have Joey Janela doing an interview backstage. This is like the fourth or fifth segment in a row that was complete shit. So he's doing like this stupid ass interview. He looks like a retard, and then all of a sudden he just grunts. He's like, right? And then like they pan the camera down or whatever. Pan, I think is left and right. Whatever. They shift it up and down, whatever the fucking verb is, and it shows like an arm. And guess what, motherfuckers? It's super bad Penelope Ford with super bad Kip Sabian, right? And I just remember right now, at like whatever, All In, wasn't Joey Janela with Penelope Ford? Weren't they like a couple, right? All of a sudden now she's with this other guy, Kip Sabian, and then like Excalibur's like, oh my God, as if like we're supposed to care. Oh no, Penelope Ford hit Joey Janela in the balls. What a great betrayal of two very established characters. Nobody gives a fuck about these guys, man. Last week, Joey Janela was taping Tully Blanchard to like a fucking chair. Right? What happened to that? All of a sudden, Penelope Ford hits him on the balls for no reason, and that's fine. You can start a storyline like that. I'm cool with it, but don't make it seem like Excalibur was trying to make it seem as if it was like this moment, this relevant moment of the night. It wasn't at all. You could have just not had this whatsoever, and no one would have given a rat's ass. I bet you, as you're hearing this, none of you that watched AEW even remember this. Like, how can you remember something like that? It was so retarded. Anyways, then we have two former WWE jobbers, Jon Moxley and Trent Beretta, right? They have a match. Obviously, Jon Moxley wins with a paradigm shift after he does like a dirty deeds to the outside. Then I may be having these out of order, I guess, because I know at that point Sammy Guevara comes out. I don't know if he came out as part of his match or not, but whatever. When this match happened, Sammy Guevara came out, and yeah, I guess I talked about the Goldust match beforehand. Whatever. After Moxley beats Trent Beretta, Sammy Guevara comes out and says, "Have you thought about joining our offer, joining our stable?" Right? And then Jericho appears in the Titantron because he's not there this week because AEW doesn't know how to fucking book things correctly. This is like your first show of the year, and it's your first show, right, in 2 weeks, motherfucks. And Jericho has to be in Japan getting ready for his like Wrestle Kingdom match, so that's probably why he's not there. Nonetheless, Jericho's there, right, through satellite, and he tells Kenny Omega, or probably not through satellite, through like pre-taped segment, right? And he's like, he tells Jon Moxley, he's like, if you join us, I'll give you 49% of like Inner Circle LLC. But how does Inner Circle LLC make money, or what do they do? I mean, I guess they sell the champagne, right? How do they make money? They're all salaried employees. You can't. That's not how LLCs work, retard. But anyways, whatever. Basically, he's saying he's gonna make him like almost an equal partner, right? Presumably, Jericho owns the other 51%, and that these jobbers chipped in to buy him like a Ford GT or whatever, right? The car looked awesome. I don't even like cars. The car looked tight, right? And then Moxley says, well, I respect Jericho, and I'm going to give him my response man-to-man next week. Now, all right, he respects Jericho. He always has. That's great. This would be fantastic if the response wasn't going to be a paradigm shift next week, which is exactly what's going to happen. So, retarded, and not fresh, same shit as WWE, predictable nonsense. I guarantee it. He's going to attack Jericho next week, starting their feud. Fucking bullshit. Anyways, after the Sammy Guevara Goldust match, we had a segment between Hangman Page and Private Party. Private Party was backstage, or no, they were at a bar, I guess, right? And like the female interviewer that AEW has, who is very attractive, she should be AEW champion based on that alone. None of the girls can wrestle anyways, so who gives a fuck? Just give it to the hot one. So anyways, she's like interviewing Private Party, and they're like flirting with her, right? I'm digging it. I dig Private Party. The only problem is that, like, we already have Street Profits, which are literally the same thing. It's like one guy who's like a super goof, and the other guy who's like slightly less of a goof, but still a goof, right? They're like black stereotypes. Come up with something better for black wrestlers, man. You know? They just do something with them. Whatever. Private Party is doing their thing. Adam Page comes in. He's pouring a drink, and one of the Private Party guys is like, whoa, Adam, what are you doing? And he's like, what? I'm drinking. He's like, I'll beat both of your asses. I'm actually liking this Adam Page, right? And then like they're like, Adam, we're worried about you. He's like, don't be worried about me. I don't give a fuck. So then like afterwards, after this segment, we have the main event, which was the Elite. That's Young Cucks and Cucky Omega versus the Lucha Bros and Pac. Now, here's the problem with this, right? Adam Page comes out to do commentary. So you know some shit's going to go down. It didn't, but you know some shit was supposed to go down, right? Like the story clearly is, like Adam Page next week when he teams up with Kenny Omega is going to turn on Kenny Omega. If not next week, the week after that. Adam Page is obviously turning heel, and he doesn't want to be associated with the Elite anymore. That's going to be the storyline. Now, that would be a decent storyline if it was established that he was part of the Elite. He's always been treated as this like redheaded stepchild, right? It's the four of them, and Adam Page is just there. He's like their buddy, right? So, like, it's not going to be as effective. Like, JR is going to be like, oh my God, he betrayed Kenny Omega. But like, dude, you can't this quickly establish people as best friends and then betray them, right? Like, when MJF betrayed Cody Rhodes, people pretended that it was like a big deal. But it's like, who the fuck was in that? Nobody knew who MJF was until like AEW. You've known about MJF's existence for 3 months. 2 of those months, he was a heel. 1 week and a half, he was Cody's best friend. And now he betrayed him. You're like, oh, how can his best friend betray him? What do you mean, how? He was a heel. He's been doing heelish shit his entire time in AEW. But anyways, I digress from that. Another problem with this thing, in my opinion, like by far one of the biggest problems here, is just the fact that this match involved Adam Page in commentary, and I don't remember anything he said. None of what he said was interesting enough. And now they have these little epithets that are presented almost as epitaphs by the things. Like when they introduce someone, like it'll be like the AEW logo, and it'll say like Adam Page, and then above the name, it'll say like a little fun fact about him, right? Like on the right, it has the record, and then above it has like some relevant factoid, right? So when John Moxley came out, I remember it was like being recruited by the Inner Circle. What the fuck? Why do you have that there? And when Adam Page came out, it said Adam Page, and above it said has been drinking, right? What? But anyways, that was just horrible in my opinion. The match itself was whatever. It was a typical Lucha Brothers versus Young Bucks match, and it just had Kenny Omega and Pac. This is like a match we've seen a million times. We've seen Pac and Kenny Omega a million times. We've seen Lucha Brothers and Young Bucks like 2 million times. Like there was a month where they had like 5 matches somehow. They had like 3 on AEW, 1 in all Todos Elitos Wrestling in Mexico, and then another one in AAA, and another one in WA, and another one up their own ass, right? So we've seen this song and dance before, so I wasn't enticed by this at all. The only thing I was enticed by was the possibility of Adam Page, by virtue of being out there in commentary, doing something. But no, here's what happened. The Elite came out to their own music. Like they have maybe this was there all along, but first time I noticed it, they have their like all Elite music. It's like the Elite. It's like the Elite, and then it starts like this goofy ass music, and then you hear like things like super kick party, yeah, or some shit like that, right? Stupid, right? And then Cody Rhodes comes out wearing like a full suit now, right? With like a jacket. He was not the first person to wear a jacket. I mean like a winter coat type jacket, right? Justin Thomas, whatever, the guy, what the fuck does he do? The ring announcer. That guy has a jacket too. I noticed that they were outside. They're in Jacksonville, so I'm pretty sure it's warm. But it's like, imagine if they weren't, right? They were just wrestling in the cold because they can't even afford ceilings up in this bitch. So anyways, it was what it was, right? Oh, also, by the way, since Survivor is over, I taped NXT. I didn't watch it because I realized it was just like, as far as I could tell, it was just like the end of the year awards. So AEW is going to win the ratings battle this week, because who the fuck cares about the ratings? You know, who cares about NXT when they don't have matches, right? And people are going to hail it as if it's like this huge victory. You just mark my words. It's going to be like, oh, AEW destroys WWE. AEW's going to get like 600 and it's going to get more because some of the NXT viewers are now watching AEW. But it's going to be this it's going to be presented as this huge victory, right? But it's like an artificial victory, which is going to make it better next week when the ratings tank. But anyways, so they come out with their stupid ass music. Pac comes out with his like generic music, and then of course the best entrance music of all time, Lucha Bros, Mexican, Cero Miedo, Do It Again. Yeah, that horse shit music started. They came out. Whoever they paid to do the lyrics of that song should be murdered. I fucking hate that guy on a personal level. Really, Lucha Bros, Mexican, Cero Miedo. Do it again, or whatever the fuck they say, right? Anyways, match ended. Cody Rhodes came out, like I said. They celebrated in the ring. They invite Adam Page. Adam Page is like, I didn't do anything. Like, in other words, leave me alone, you fucking weirdos, right? So why would he's the only smart one. That's why I'm going to start liking him, I'm pretty sure, when he turns heel up in this bitch. So that's how the year ended. Now, if you couldn't tell by now, motherfucks, this, in my opinion, was the worst show ever. Now, part of it, I attribute, honestly, to the No Regrets Darby Allin mishap. But another part of it, I attribute to this. All right? Dark Order ended the year in dominance. Dark Order was nowhere to be seen at the beginning of this year and this season. This is season 2 now. So that's just preposterously retarded. People like the Elite shouldn't be concerned with whether they're the Elite or not anymore. They should be concerned with, where the fuck is Dark Order so we can whoop that ass? I have no words for this bullshit, motherfuckers. It was atrocious. It was horrible. And Darby Allin, no regrets. I hope that now that I pointed out, other people start realizing it too. Because, of course, as usual, motherfuckers, the hater comes up with it first, and other people steal it. They steal my shit. So anyways, thanks for watching. This video went a little too long, but I think it had to. I had to vent. I'd been keeping this inside for too long, motherfuckers. All right. See y'all motherfuckers later. And go and fuck yourselves. Lucha Bros. Mexican. Fuck yourselves. Once again.